Hello! In this video, I'm going to show you some tips and techniques for working with patterns in Adobe Illustrator. So I have an M here that we're going to make a pattern from. And let's go to Object, Pattern, Make. And it's telling us that it's been added to our Swatches panel over here. And now we can begin editing. So this blue outline is the pattern tile, and that is the width and height. So we can adjust, and I'm using my arrow keys to downsize the width so those are tighter, and also bring down the height of the tile just to cinch that up. And it's always a good idea just to experiment and see how different things look. So you can also change the tile type. We can offset the brick by row. You can offset it by column vertically. You can change the offset. It's currently at 1/2. And there are various other options. You can also give your pattern a name. And when you're finished, you can double click off in a space outside of the pattern tile, or up here at the top, there's a very small navigation. You can click the Done check mark. And so we don't see anything yet. I'm going to go ahead and move my letter form and grab a shape. It could be a rectangle or a circle. And I'm just going to draw a square, and with our fill selected, go over to your Swatches panel. Now I like to enlarge these so I can see it a little bit better. In your flyout menu up here at the top right, I have it set to large thumbnail view. And now we can select the pattern. So it's currently the same size as this letter when we created it, but let's say we want to scale that. So we can either go to our scale tool, S for shortcut, or you can go to Object, Transform, and you can access scale there or some other methods. Let's just go to scale either way. And within these options, we usually like to scale uniformly. Here we can choose to transform the object, which is the square or rectangle that I drew with the pattern inside of it. That's currently turned on, so let's just see when I change the scale. So now it's transforming my entire square that I drew. If I uncheck that, the transform objects, now I'm only scaling the pattern because that box is checked. So now I have more control over the size of the pattern, which is more of what I want in this case. You can uncheck that and you'll see it's automatically checked to transform the object. So let's say we want to go with that. Okay. And now let's say I want this rectangle to be resized. Well, now, due to my transformation settings, it's squishing that type. I'm going to undo, Control Z. And what I can do now is grab my white arrow, my direct selection, and select the edge, whichever one of the shape, if I want to transform it or move it. So I was holding down Shift when I clicked and dragged that side. So now that's allowing me to adjust the size of the shape without transforming it. Otherwise, when I go back to transform, I'm going to have to uncheck transform patterns so that I can transform my shape size without stretching or distorting the pattern. So now you'll see I can transform the object without transforming the pattern. I hope that makes sense. It's a little confusing. There are a lot of settings. So now I can transform the object without transforming the pattern. And so here's another instance. We could do a circle. Now let's say we want to edit the pattern. So let's double click on our swatch, the M pattern, and let's change the letter color to something different and click out of it. And you'll see it updated everywhere. It also changed my scale there. If you do not want to change all of your active patterns, you have a couple options. So I'm going to undo, Control Z. And with one of these patterns, if I want it to stay the same as it currently is, we need to expand it. So I'm going to go to Object, Expand, and expand the fill of that pattern. So now you'll see if I edit the swatch of the pattern, this expanded shape has not been affected because those are no longer a live pattern. It's the individual shapes. So another thing you can do, let me go ahead and scale that so I can see it more as a pattern. So let's say I want to experiment with this pattern more. You can drag that M pattern onto this plus sign to duplicate it. And now if I draw another shape, and select the second pattern, now I can edit that second pattern and play around with it. And again, I'm going to have to go back to scale, which is S for shortcut. And now we can experiment better without affecting all of them. And you can also use patterns as a stroke. So not only as a fill. So you can see I can click this arrow to swap, or Shift X on the keyboard will allow you to swap your fill and stroke. So as a stroke, now we can use our stroke weight and increase that. And I'm using the X key to edit either the fill or the stroke. So now that the stroke is on top, I can change the swatch of that stroke. I hope this video helps you understand a little bit more about using patterns in Illustrator.